Welcome into another edition of the Kicking It with the Colonels podcast. Wes and KJ here with you. Going to talk some EKU sports. And then a little bit later on, we have a really intriguing guest joining us here. Keith Miller, he is the vice president of Influxer, dealing with name, image, and likeness. Really fascinating to hear him talk. So I know we're going to be pleased to be joined by him here in just a little bit. But I invite you to stay tuned with us here for that. And we're going to talk some EKU sports in the meantime. And KJ, I guess we got to start with the football spring game. I know you didn't get to attend, but it was on Saturday, and it ended kind of like in soccer style. It ended in a tie. It ended in a 42-42 tie. The scoring system was a little adjusted, so it wasn't like either team just blew anybody away. But so I think defense got 7 points for a 3-and-out, so it was a little bit of a different scoring system. But I guess the main thing is there's no bragging rights in the locker room from that because I'm sure being a student athlete, you have a game like that, basically a glorified scrimmage, and you want to have some bragging rights, but I guess there's no bragging rights.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when we do scrimmages and we split up into teams, we sometimes do this like little series that we have where it's like maroon versus black, and we literally split into two teams and scrimmage, and the score is the score. Like there's no, we're not tying, we're not like, I'm pretty sure in one of our scrimmages we had a walk-off like strikeout or something like that. But no, that's important. Like just to like come into the fall with just a chip on your shoulder, like say the offense loses, the defense or the offense comes in with the chip on their shoulder to just prove something, more. So it's interesting that they let it end in a tie, because me personally, I would not let that happen.
That's the competitor in me. I want to have a winner and I want to have a loser.
Exactly.
But Walt Wells was pleased with how the spring practice and the spring game went down, and you look at it and really, now they kind of go away for a couple months or so, but football season is not that far off.
No,
if you think about it, really.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, one blink and it's here. So, talking to a couple of the football players, they did say that this year has been very competitive for them and very just a different feeling in general. So, they kind of got the taste of the little playoff season last year. They were 6-0 at home. So I'm really excited to see what they bring this year, especially with the new transfers, the more competition. Yeah, I'm just excited.
They changed their schedule a little bit this year. They went a week longer in spring ball, and there seemed to be more of an emphasis on the weight room because of this being a relatively young team. They were able to do 3 lifts per week, 3 practices per week, and sometimes those kids that come into a program new like that, they don't see the significance of the weight room.
Yeah.
Weight room plays a big role when you're talking to any sport.
No, absolutely. We lifted in high school probably like once a week, and like looking back, I thought that did so much, but now that we lift every day, like I'm seeing how much the weight room plays into it, just how much stronger I've gotten. Like my power numbers have gone up a lot. We've talked about that, but yeah, the weight room does play a significant factor in one, getting stronger, and also just staying like building endurance in general. So that'll also be another thing that's interesting to see, is how how like the injuries play out and stuff like that, because the weight room is going to keep those injuries away and prevent all of those little tiny strains and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea, a good call for sure.
Could be a mixed bag now. Could be good, could be bad, depending on how you look at it. But I guess the good news is now the transfer portal is closed, so you may have a more of an understanding of what your roster is going to be. They just lost one of their starting right tackle, Tyrell Green, to Purdue, so that's a huge loss that they're going to have to fill in. But you talk about these losses, and the coaching staff and Coach Wells already deep into the portal to get those guys, and now it's just plug and play basically, because when one leaves, you do have the advantage of going back into that portal and finding your new guys. Yeah,
absolutely. The transfer portal has changed a lot in the football game. You think about, when you think about college sports, you think about, okay, yeah, my team's young this year, but next year we have that experience now, but you really don't have that opportunity anymore, because yes, your team may be young this year, but some of those young men might leave and go to a different school. So yeah, I mean, the portal has changed the game, and it's just something you have to work with now, for sure.
for the second straight year. There will be a new quarterback right now. Miles Burkett and Colby Lamberth right now battling it out. Originally signed out of Wisconsin was Miles Burkett and former Gatorade Player of the Year in his state. So really extremely athletic. And I got to watch him for the first time on Saturday. And one of the things I noticed about him is he uses that athleticism, but he also throws from different arm slots. He can be an over-the-top guy, but he also has that Patrick Mahomes type side throw. The coaches really liked his leadership and communication. And when you have a player like that at that position, and it's kind of like a shortstop, second base, you want those to be effective communicators. You want those to be effective leaders, and you definitely need that as a quarterback. And those are really two key aspects that you have to have at that position.
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about the quarterbacks, we always talk about, the physical route. Like, can they throw the ball far? Can they throw the ball hard? Can they get out of the pocket quickly? Stuff like that. But the mental aspect does play a big role. Just knowing, I've obviously never played tackle football, but knowing that my quarterback is somebody that's mentally strong, is mentally smart, is going to lead me and have my back is something that's, I bet, has a big part in the sport. So, yeah, I mean, it's a physical fight, but it's also a mental fight. So,
threw for over 1,800 yards last year at Albany. And one of the things, I want to flip it over to the other side of the ball now, is I feel like the defense is a big strength of this team here, or will be in 2025. They allowed 23 points per game last year, really huge strides from the year prior.
Yeah.
And they return a lot of players on that side of the ball, especially the linebacking core. You look at some of the guys returning. Caden Smith had a big spring game. Jalen Harrod, who missed all of last year, is coming back. Braden Sullivan had a breakout year. Cam Jr., Frank Lee, some of those guys. When you have good defense behind you, I think that gives your offense a little more leeway to kind of be relaxed and to play their style.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing that, you can come into a game and not have your best game, not score a lot of points, but your defense has your back and it's going to limit the other side. That definitely plays a big role in how you play. Just like eliminating that pressure in general, for sure. For the defense, I think, yes, you may have lost a couple of big seniors that, graduated, obviously, but that leadership that those seniors had, I feel like it's had a lasting impact on the defensive program in general. So I'm excited to see what they do with that.
And also big news for Colonel fans, too, is a little bit of a Colonel flair in the NFL draft. Former Colonel Jaden Higgins, who played 2 years here, then went on to Iowa State, was the 34th overall pick to the Houston Texans. It's great to see his name called. He was a big-time receiver here for 2 years. Really big end-zone threat. He uses a big, tall frame. And then also Mike Smith Jr. Signing an undrafted free agent deal with the Dallas Cowboys, and now he goes a chance to play for a team down there in Texas.
Yeah, I think it's super weird that both, former Colonels go to Texas. It's a little bit of small world, but yeah, I'm excited for them to, explore their careers and just go to the next level, what they've always dreamed of.
Yeah, really excited for Mike Smith, and really kind of the definition of an eternal Colonel. And now let's go on to softball. It's a big weekend for you guys, winning 2 out of 3 against North Alabama. What did you like most about how your team was able to bounce back after dropping that first game in that series?
Yeah, well, the first game, honestly, we're at the point of the season where everybody's just tired, honestly. Like, softball, there's a lot of games. And our bodies are definitely feeling it, for sure. People are starting to, we see summer around the corner, and we're just dreaming of the beaches and pools that we're about to get into. So the first game, we kind of just went into it, going through the motions. That happens. But I was really excited to see the second game or the second 2 games, I should say, because it really felt like a different team. And in all honesty, it was fun. Like, it was fun to play. Like, we were just laid back. We were playing the game that we know and love. And honestly, it genuinely felt like a different team. And I'm excited to see if that's going to be the team that shows up to the conference tournament.
Yeah, single game Saturday, doubleheader on Sunday because of weather being pushed back. And you may want to tell 2 of your teammates to tune out this next part of the segment because I want to talk about them.
Okay.
I know how superstitious you guys can be. But I want to talk about Lily Davis, first of all. coming off a 3-hit day on Sunday, 6 RBI in the doubleheader. She's raised her average over 50 points in the last 10 days. And I've got the number. I won't say the number just because I don't want to be held accountable for something if she falls here this last weekend. But ever since that Austin Peay series, I feel like she's been in a zone right now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. She's seeing the ball so well right now, and I'm so proud of her. It has been hard for her, honestly, because, she started off pretty slow. But yeah, just right now she's just working on playing the game she knows, being the hitter she knows, and just having that confidence. And it's made such a big difference. And, I just love to see it. Like, she's so chilled out right now. I love it.
That's great to see. And the other one I want to talk about, Michaela Mathis.
Yeah.
Had a big series as well, 5 RBI in a 3-game series. And when there's runners on base, she just seems like a completely different hitter.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you look at who you want in the lineup, obviously, I would want you and Maddie. But right there at the top, I would think would be Michaela with how she performs with runners in scoring position, with runners on base just in general.
Yes. It's honestly funny because when she comes up to bat, like, as the other teams always just overlook her, like, immediately. She's not the biggest player on the team. She's not the tallest player on the team, but, like, she always does the job. She gets the job done every time. And it's really funny to watch, like, as a player, because I truly do not understand it. Like, it's just, like, somehow the ball just, like, finds her bat every time. And it's just so crazy to see. Like, I know against Central Arkansas, every time that we were, like, shut out, nobody else could hit the ball. She always did. So, I mean, yeah, I'm glad that it's finally being shown, but she's always been somebody that the team can rely on. So
I think, and teams won't admit this, but I think that once they get through you and Maddie in the batting order, I think there's a sense of, let's exhale now. And I really do. I really feel like that way. And I think that Michaela is benefiting from being in that 5 spot.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about that the other day, just like how long she stayed in the 9-hole spot. I'm not going to go against the coaches, obviously, but yeah, putting her in the 5 spot has made a big difference. Like, she's getting, like, she obviously utilizes the opportunities she has so much and always does well with those opportunities. So why not give her more, So yeah, I mean, she does a good job at protecting us for sure. Like, you can walk me, get to Maddie, walk Maddie, get to her. Somebody's going to do the job eventually. So, yeah, I do think she's benefiting from it a lot for sure.
Got one more conference series against Bellarmine this weekend. What does the team need to do to finish strong?
Relax. Take an off day, maybe. Gladly, we have one today. So, yeah, just play free, have fun. It's Bellarmine, who we swept last time we played them. So, we're supposed to sweep them again, obviously, but if we look down, play down to their level, or overlook them at all, that could bite us in the butt. So just making sure that we keep playing our game despite who's on the other side of the field, and yeah, just having fun.
Yeah, and they've had some competitive games in the A7 too, so it's not like everybody's just rolling over them. Yeah. I know it'll be a big game on Saturday because it is senior day. Have 2 seniors, is that right?
Yes, we do have 2 seniors.
Yeah, so Lauren Narvaez and Bella Sanchez, the 2 seniors. What have those 2 meant to this program over the years?
Yeah, they have been a big part of the program, obviously. Our team's fairly young this year, so looking up to them to just give us the the mentality-wise, like what the culture is supposed to feel like at EKU, and just learn from them, obviously. They're older than us. They have more wisdom than us, so taking that opportunity to, learn from them so we can pass it on to the next that come below us. So, yeah, they're a big deal to this program. I don't want to think about them leaving, but, yeah, I'm excited for them for sure.
Yeah. Moving on to track and field now, another track update where we're talking PRs, breaking school records, things like that. They ran in the Drake relays this past weekend, but let's go back before that. Had a really impressive invitational at Wake Forest, and then in Virginia, 3 more records being broken, a lot of PRs being set.
Yeah, absolutely. going through them, I got a little bit of a list, but they all deserve a shout out. So we have Bahia El Arfu, who ran a 4:07 in the women's 1500 meter. That is actually the 5th fastest in the country this season. Wow. That's crazy. And then we have Anyo Boras, who ran a 3:40 school record, which is a 28th fastest time in the nation this season, and a school record, as I should say again. Then we have Karine Gosick, who ran a 9:58, which is the 2nd in school record and 14th in the nation this season. Just a lot of records. Mm-hmm. And then we have Christian Imroth, who ran 8:30, and that is ranked 9th nationally this season. Goodness gracious. Like, I just cannot. And then we have Edna Chalule. I want to say I got that right. I hopefully did. And this is actually a new school record in the women's 5,000 meter. I couldn't even imagine running that. But she ran a 15:43.
Wow. Just incredible stuff once again from track and field. And every time they go into a meet, it's almost like and I always say this, especially with other sports, is there's a difference between going into a game or a meet hoping to win and going into a game or meet expecting to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, for example, using this past week, right? Softball played Kentucky. That's a game that we were hoping to win. And I feel like, honestly, it was like a 5-1 game at the end. But honestly, I feel like if we went into that game expecting to win, you would have saw a whole brand new team, a brand new side of that team. And it honestly feels like track goes into every single meet expecting to be the best, break another record. And that makes such a big difference for sure.
And they train constantly, as we've talked on this show before. There's so much training that not everybody sees.
Yeah.
There's so much training that goes on year round.
Absolutely. I was just talking about how one morning last week I was driving to weights and I saw our freshman of the week running at 6 a.m. So yeah, they're training constantly. They deserve all the recognition they get because they're putting in the work for it.
And speaking of awards, the awards is constantly, and we just swept the awards, right?
Yeah, and a full EKU sweep on both women's and men's. We have, so for the track side of the ASUN honors, we have Bahia El Arfu and Christian Imroth. And then for the field side, we have Javon Adams and don't know how to pronounce the first name, so I'm going to say the last name, Garma. And then for the freshman side, we have Blair and Chalule. Just a full EKU sweep. And I think about that in terms of like other sports, like say women's and basketball sweep the full weekly awards. Like that's unheard of. Like I feel like everybody's just not paying attention to the fact that it was all EKU this year or this week. I keep saying here.
Huge honor. Wrap things up before we get into our conversation with Keith Miller, the VP for Influxer, with beach volleyball.
Yeah.
They just had their season come to an end in the ASUN Championships down in Huntsville, Alabama. They won one game. They beat Central Arkansas, lost their first match to Florida Gulf Coast. They were a top 20 team in the country. So you love to win those, but obviously putting up a good fight. They started strong. Elpida Pizziconi and Bella Williams actually won the first set in the fives.
Yes.
And they started off really strong. Likewise for Reagan Sandlin and E.K. Lonergan, both podcast guest stars. I want to throw that out there. Winning the first set in the fours. But then FGCU got things rolling and won that game. But then the way the team bounced back and just a couple hours later won a game in straight sets against Central Arkansas. That shows a lot of resiliency and fight for that team.
Yeah, absolutely. And that happened to be the first win in an ASUN tournament in program history. But yeah, 3-0. I mean, there's no better way to bounce back than doing that, shutting out the other team. But yeah, I'm so proud of them. They've had a great season, honestly. And yeah, it's just been so fun to watch for sure.
It was Gabby Armitage and Rachel Mueller that sealed the win, and EKU won all top 3 flights.
Yes.
So it was just pure domination, basically, over Central Arkansas.
Literally.
Yeah. And that win gave Jeff Patton his 50th career win.
Yes.
And I know he got a nice little bath after that too.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did see that. That's always nice though. I'm sure it was hot down there. So
yeah, nice little cooling off shower.
Yeah.
But no, just kind of speaking of what 50 wins, it may not sound like a lot, but for a team that's only in their 6th year of existence,
yes,
coming off of when they started back in 2019, just had to get the program started. It was rough first year or two, but now 6th year, you win a conference game in the tournament. Future's very bright for this program, and in a very tough conference because you have Florida schools that, by all standpoints, they get to practice year round. Basically, here in Kentucky, not so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, just as you said, you're playing against schools that literally have the opportunity to train at any moment of the year. In Kentucky, you don't have that same opportunity. So what they've done with the opportunities that they were given has been amazing.
And speaking of opportunities, now we're going to lead in with that with our conversation with Keith Miller, the Vice President of Influxer. We're going to have a really good conversation with him. We're going to talk name, image, likeness, and what all that means for mid-major programs and programs like EKU and student athletes, and maybe even get KJ signed up. We never know. We are pleased to be joined with Keith Miller here, the Kicking It with the Colonels podcast, the Vice President of Influxer. And I think it's safe to say he's definitely our smartest guest that we have had on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Oh, I don't like. We're setting the stage up for big failure now. Oh man,
Keith, it's great to be with you here today, and it's going to be exciting to talk with you and just kind of pick your brain a little bit. As we know that this NIL deal is really kind of taking off in college athletics. But first, let's start with you travel all over the country basically to talk to schools and to talk to student athletes. How's your experience been in Richmond, Kentucky so far?
I have really, really enjoyed it. The hospitality here is first class. Everybody here is so friendly. Staff, student athletes, shoot, even people that I didn't know was here visiting just in the community. This has been a great place to visit. I'm coming back, definitely, 100%, and it is so green here. I'm coming from South Texas. That's home base for me, and my first thought getting out of the airport and making my way to Richmond was, wow, they must have got a lot of rain, but no, it's green here all the time, it feels like.
You've got another Texas girl
Yeah,
right
I was
to
just
your,
about to say,
your
what
left.
part of South Texas?
I live in Corpus Christi.
Okay. I'm Houston, Texas, like Pearland area.
Okay,
That's where
okay.
I'm at. Yeah, so
All
we're
right.
right next to each other. I play all the time in Corpus
Here,
Christi.
we'll just do this. There we go. All right.
Little Texas connection. So for those that might not know or are a little bit late to the NIL game, kind of tell us in layman's terms what it is that Influxer does and how it has an impact on student athletes all across the college landscape.
Yeah, Influxer is an interesting story. So I was on campus for about 25 years, and I was doing compliance at several different universities. About 3 years ago, when NIL really came into play, saw a lot of companies that came into being, and they didn't have a whole lot of connection. There are some good ones definitely out there, but a couple of my former student athletes and I had this idea. Let's do some consulting, some education, and really center it around the development of the student athlete. And let's figure out some ways with NIL to use, get them paid along the way, but let's really focus on the development. So Influxer, yes, we sell a lot of merchandise, and that has been tremendously popular for us. But we use that to really fund a lot of the education, the development initiatives for student athletes. So, as an example, I'm here speaking all day. Corey's done a really good job scheduling me all day, which I'm thankful for, because we've got about 50,000 student athletes across the country that we're working with, and we have about 510 universities we're partnered with, so we've got a great amount of data, and we're seeing sales, what's working, what's not, and the merchandise is really kind of a front door entry, because we give the student athletes an opportunity to showcase their marketing skills, their energy, their enthusiasm for promoting their own merchandise, because you never know who else is watching. What business back home or locally or regionally that might see this and say, Well, dadgummit, I like that energy. I like the way that student athlete presented this information. That's a good look. I want them to do something. I want them talking about my business like that. And that's connecting the dots, making that next step. It's not just about the merchandise. And the more I get out to schools, and I've just got done meeting with the football team, and I've talked them through this, and I saw the light bulbs going off, and they're like, okay, yeah, this is more than just merchandise. And it's a great thing. I love that part about what we're doing. And really positioning yourself with NIL, with how you brand yourself on social media. It's not just about NIL. It's also about how you position yourself once you graduate and you go to apply for that first job. Because I guarantee you that future employer, they're pulling up your social media. They're checking out who you are, what kind of risk you might be as a future employee. So why not now get your practice in with NIL, see what sells for yourself, see what works, see what part of your social media being resonates with people. It's a great opportunity to that's people talk about the negatives of NIL often. There are a lot of positives. Pre-NIL, 5-10 years ago, student athletes didn't have the same opportunity to flex those types of muscles, to get this type of experience. Right now they do. So, let's go.
I think the key thing in what you just said is partnership. It's a partnership, really, because it obviously benefits the student athletes, but it also benefits you all as well.
Absolutely. For us, we take the smallest cut. And that's always been our mindset. Let's work with great numbers of universities, forge great relationships with the universities, the coaches, the student athletes. Let's do that. We can stack pennies. We don't have to make a big splash, make a big sale at any one place or with any one student athlete. We'll take our small piece of the pie and we'll focus our efforts, our technology, and really try to further the message at the university, try to help the student athletes. Because once we get the student athletes putting out a positive message that resonates with everybody, we all win. The university, Influxer, the student athlete, and any business that wants to do something with them. So it behooves us to take this knowledge we're getting from across the country, like what's working, what's not, make a visit to Richmond here and impart that wisdom, that experience, what we're doing and what we're seeing, and hopefully the football players, hopefully any of the other student athletes that attend later today, they listen, they're like, that's pretty easy. It is a partnership, when we all can win.
Yeah,
I like that.
Absolutely.
As a student athlete there, KJ, I know that NIL has completely changed the game in sports now. How have you seen it from the time you kind of at the early stages of it? How have you seen it develop as it just has progressed along?
Yeah, honestly, it's just become like so much more normalized now. Like before, it was like NIL was seen as something that only the big players, like the big football players, get to do. Like I know Utah football got a whole bunch of trucks. Like that's like something all of these athletes dream of, but like that's becoming normalized. Like I know softball players that are driving around in, whatever car they have. But yeah, it's become more normalized. Like I as a small town softball player, I feel like I can earn from like my name. Like I met this little girl the other day. It was so amazing. I met this little girl and was just talking to her, and her dad was like, "Yeah, you're her favorite player. Like she loves middle infield. She wants to be like you." And it's just like, it's really comforting to know that like even though I'm not at those Power 5 schools that you see on TV, that I still like have an impact as a college like player. Like I'm still, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I like the fact that people can earn from their names and really feel like important, feel like a big character in the sports world. So, but I didn't know about the like what you were talking about, how you can, what is the word that I'm trying to say? Like, it's not just merchandise, I guess. Like, I see people like post on Instagram all the time, like, hey, I'm selling, my merch, my name's on the back, buy it if you want. But I didn't know it goes beyond more than that. Can you explain more of that?
Yeah, no, I mean, think about it. If you're a business owner and you see somebody posting, and they got some energy, some positivity as they post about my merchant, hey, check out this hoodie. I'm partnered with Influxer. Check this out. This is a great product, great quality, however they want to phrase it. We see student athletes doing funny stuff all the time too to promote their items. But imagine if you're a business owner and you're reading about NIL, you see it on social media, and you're like, I don't really know what this is about. But then a post like that scrolls across, and they're like, okay, I kind of see it. I kind of see it.
Yeah.
Just in place of Influxer, insert the name of their business, and you got the student athlete talking about their business.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about the way we modeled our business. It's no cost for the student athlete. It's no risk, and so they sign up. We get them going. We do some cool graphics for them, and I'm not in charge of the graphics for anybody listening, because that would be dangerous. I'm not the graphically inclined person, but really giving the student athletes, a free opportunity to, show what they can do, show some of that enthusiasm, some of those positives, and help those business owners imagine, what it might be like if that student athlete was talking about their business.
Yeah.
And it's all about, like, you got to lead the horse to water type of philosophy, right? You can't just sit there and wait for everybody to come to you and say, offer you an NIL deal. Sometimes you got to work at it. You got to show people, hey, I'm positive. Like, you're smiling. You got positive. Yes, you're making a difference, even with that one small girl. You've got a podium to do a lot of good. With that type of attitude, though, that's awesome. So
you were talking about the team at Influxer, and it really is a team. It's not just one person doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. Talk a little bit about kind of what all your team does behind the scenes that they don't get to see.
Yeah, so we started off small, just like any other startup company would. We started off small, and scaling production for over 500 universities requires a team. So we do have a heavy component to our team that really focuses on tech. And so it takes an awful lot of tech, things I can't even pronounce, to really kind of make this possible. We got an incredibly talented team. And then we get into the graphic artists and, the marketing folks. And then, we get a lot of folks that are working more the business development, working with some of the brands. And so we grew very quickly. Myself, I've got the compliance background, legal background. So coming into this and just being able to explain to student athletes and even my own team, okay, this is what's happening in the legal climate right now. This is what it means to us, and this is what we should prepare student athletes for, has been amazing. But I lost count of how many full-timers we have. I think we're right around 40.
That's a good problem.
It is. And I lose count of how many schools we're working with, which is a good problem. And I lose count of how many interns. So we do hire a student athlete intern at every school that we're at. So my goal today is not only to educate, but to find the perfect intern here at Eastern Kentucky. So
I'm going to try to get Kennedy to sign up too.
See, that's what we're looking. I'm looking for.
Our next podcast, we're both going to be wearing Kennedy Drafton T-shirts too.
There we go.
To bring it more kind of centralized to EKU, how have you seen something like Influxer benefit an EKU type school?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of different things across the board, and I've had the privilege to speak at a lot of Power 4 schools, a lot of other Division 1 schools, a lot of Division 2, Division 3. I've even spoken at a few junior colleges, and I think how each school embraces NIL, how they embrace the opportunities, and EKU has done an amazing job embracing the opportunity. Just to point it out, like how well EKU has done. I think we launched in November. So pretty much at the conclusion of the football season. We launched in November. EKU shot up to, I think, in our top 5 selling schools in the country. And that was just 5 months ago. That's crazy. So a lot of credit to Corey Neal, the admin staff, the coaches. I mean, they really understood kind of what the opportunity was, and that this was an opportunity for every student athlete on campus, not just your elite football players or basketball players, but, you know, for every single student athlete on this campus. And, you know, that's a really cool thing. And like today, like, you know, this was definitely well orchestrated to, you know, for the visit today to come in and speak to a lot of student athletes teams. And, you know, I met with all the coaches this morning to really impart, you know, this is what everybody else is doing. This is how they're utilizing Influxer, you know, for recruiting, for retention, for realization, for revenue. So Eastern Kentucky does realize revenue from every sale that's happening. So that's going back to the athletic department on every sale. And to go from having nothing in November to being in our top 5 right now is, I mean, sky's the limit here.
Yeah.
This is a great market. We're really privileged.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out to the student athletes like all over the country. I know that for me, well, I didn't sign up. Okay, let me explain my case.
Okay. I've heard it all.
It was more of a, and I know this is from all of my friends as well, it's more of a, I don't think anybody would buy my merchandise. Like, I don't have that many followers on Instagram. I don't feel like people are watching me, but I think it's important to know that this isn't the end-all be-all. Like, this is just an entrance into the NIL community. I think you've explained that well, that yes, you're selling your merchandise, and yes, your family counts as your fans, but also that this is how you can get NIL from different companies and kind of just like establish your brand almost.
Well, here's the thing I'd tell you, and from a strict data standpoint, when we look at the sales, because understanding the history of the NCAA and like where communities are, where the knowledge is based right now. Yes, NIL is kind of mainstream right now. People generally know what it is, but for decades, it has been ingrained in people. You cannot support student athletes. You can't hand them money. You can't do certain things for student athletes, and that's a hard thing to work out, especially when people read the headlines. This part of NIL is legal. This part's not. This state it's okay. This state it's not. You know, so people don't know all the answers right yet, and so doing a merchandise type of partnership we're doing with Eastern Kentucky. Number one, it is important to establish a partnership. That way the fans, your support system back home, they know, okay, Eastern Kentucky supports this. This must be legitimate. Yeah. And it is. There are a lot of scam things when you go on social media. You look at scam ads, you're like, is that real? Okay, Influxer is very real. But you know, we've ingrained in for decades with fan bases and, you know, church members and, you know, your former high school teammates or coaches. You can't do anything to support you while you're here in Eastern Kentucky, right? But now we have an avenue for them to do it. They don't have to be a millionaire providing millions of dollars to the collective. Not everybody can afford that. Yeah. But they can buy a shirt. They can buy a jersey. And not only, you know, that's financial support, but it's also visible support. As a student athlete, my question to you is, making a few dollars or visible support, you know, how do those weigh out for you?
Yeah. I know, like, when you said that, I automatically think to my grandma. My grandma, she lives in Cincinnati. She used to play softball herself, so she swears she's a pro. But when she comes to the game, she wears, like, this. It's just a regular EKU softball shirt, but she got her friend to, like, bedazzle my name on the back. So I know she would love to wear something like that. But, yeah, that visible sport does mean a whole lot more. Like, I feel like I play so much better, so much comforting knowing that I have a support system that's going to be there with me in the end, no matter what I do.
My mom did the same thing and bedazzled the shirt when I was playing baseball, and she unfortunately always drug a cowbell and would ring the bell, like, and it was so. She was one of those, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing to anybody else out there that carries a cowbell to games, but that was my mom.
Yeah, for sure. From a merchandise standpoint, as we're kind of talking on this now, say a fan or a family member goes online here and buys a T-shirt, just say for example.
Sure.
How much of that benefits the players?
Sure. Yeah, so our merchandise, the players are receiving 60% of the profit. And what's really cool about that, the school is getting their royalty right off the top. So that goes back to the athletic department to support the athletic department. We cover all the, the production of the items, of the shipping, that's all stuff we're facilitating. We take 40% since that is obviously, there's a lot of, work that we have to do, but it is a turnkey system for the institution. So you don't have to have an additional staff member, facilitate any of this, and we can still provide a valuable service for the student athletes. And it doesn't end there. So like if student athletes call us up for coaching, social media influencing coaching, or they need advice on a contract, that those are all free services for the student athletes. So really, out of our profits, and even the paid intern, that comes out of our portion of the profits, any of the marketing, any of the travel, such as a visit like today, that's all coming out of our portion. That does not come out of the student athlete portion. That does not come out of the university portion. That's on us. So, I would encourage folks, to really consider, buying your, number one, supporting your university. You're supporting the student athlete, through where they're getting the majority of the profit, but they're also helping, fund, a lot of these other developmental initiatives that we're doing for student athletes across the country, which is, I'm the proud beneficiary of getting to travel everywhere. It is exhausting, but I love doing this. I think you being involved with college athletics, myself being involved with college athletics, we all got into this to make a difference. And for myself, stepping away from campus and doing this on behalf of Influxer, I'm making a difference, just in a different way. And, every purchase of merchandise really helps, on so many different levels. And it helps put the EKU brand in places that might not normally have gone to, which is great, especially for your coaches that are recruiting in places that EKU branding may not have been. Mm-hmm. Coaches may thank you later,
Yeah, we just had our annual giving day here at EKU, and all 50 states contributed their donations. So it really is a global thing. One thing, if you work in college athletics and you were talking about, you're big fans of the continental breakfast at the hotels. You get very used to those, don't you?
You're looking at my big stomach right now. No. The road has gotten me.
Speaking from experience.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I like those waffles you can make on your own. Yeah. Those are dangerous.
It took me a year or two to finally figure out how to do that, but I've got the pro now. Yeah.
I try to eat healthy.
Try being the key word. Yeah. From a mid-major standpoint for social media, for players that may not have the following like the hundreds of thousands of a power program or power conference, how much can social media play for a mid-major program like EKU and when you're talking about NIL stuff like this?
Oh, it's amazing. Social media is a great equalizer. It really is. I mean, everybody starts off at the same level when it comes to social media. I mean, shoot, you even see some of the stuff, from this past year. Like one of the most viral moments was the basketball manager at McNeese. We're not talking about a Power 5, Power 4 program there. And shoot, we're not talking about the top scorer on the team. We're talking about the manager. I mean, kudos to him for facilitating that. Kudos to the basketball players for getting behind and supporting their manager. That's awesome. Selfless. It translated well with fans. That's a mid-major, really getting into this and having a selfless attitude, being humble, being hungry, being passionate. That enthusiasm really came through on something like that. I know I'm at EKU, so I won't tout on McNeese too much. We do work with McNeese as well, so very proud of them, for capitalizing on that. But I think we're in a day and age right now where a viral moment can happen anywhere, anytime, to anybody. It could. I may slip up on this podcast and it becomes a viral moment.
Yeah.
You know, I'll promise not to dance because that would not be a great viral moment. But you know, a viral moment can happen at any time. I mean, you could be, you know, make an amazing play that all of a sudden makes it on the top 10 plays of the day nationally, or you know, all of a sudden it's all over the internet, and all of a sudden your marketability, you know, from Tuesday to Wednesday, it changes immensely. And, you know, pre-social media being as big as it is now, when, you know, you really only had the focus of like national media outlets where only big brands could really have that type of potential. Now with social media, if you tell a positive story and you have a good message, when those viral moments happen, you want to have a good base. You want to make sure the rest of your social media is ready for that moment. If you have that moment that goes viral and people pull you up immediately, you know, what are they going to find? Are they going to find a lot of stuff that's offensive? And then they're like, I'm not getting behind this person. But if you have done your homework, you've laid the groundwork ahead of time, you have that viral moment, people think, I can get behind this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm proud to support this.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think here at EKU, I think there's immense possibility. I think, you know, just from my visit, just from my work with Corey and the rest of the staff here in the last couple of months, the intentionality of the staff for the development of the student athletes, the proactiveness that they've shown, you know, even talking with the coaches this morning, just the ability to, you know, understand, you know, how this is a great opportunity, not just for a couple dollars here and there, or a couple $100, or, you know, whatever the case may be, but to see that showcasing to potential recruits, NIL is possible for any sport. Yeah. Any sport here, for anybody. Everybody starts off with the same opportunity, and what you make of that opportunity is up to you.
It's really important to have that buy-in from the top to all the way to maybe a walk-on or whatever the case may be. It's really important to have that kind of buy-in. And when you have that type of buy-in top to bottom, it really sets yourself apart. And you were talking about the success here at EKU, and I think that starts from the top.
I got the chance to meet your president this morning, and wow, what a personality there. Great energy. Just you could. That leadership was just oozing out. I mean, just within a couple of minutes, I was like, man, I'm ready to work for this guy. You know, it really does stem from the top down.
You got anything?
I do not. I think you explained everything very well.
Oh, boy.
She's contemplating. I can see it.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I'm thinking about what's on my social media.
Well, yeah. Well, it is funny because, you know, my task to student athletes all the time when I come is, you know, how you treat social media is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just for NIL, but for like your future jobs. If you treat social media as a toy, that's how you're going to get treated. If you treat social media as a business, and you should if you're in college, because it is a business right now, as you post different things, as you share different things, as you like different things, everything you do right now is a business decision. Because businesses, supporters, fans, they're going to look at what you do, what your actions are, and they're going to make a decision whether to support you. That's business. You know, people are looking for a reason to say yes to you. Don't give them any reason to say no.
Yeah.
Don't give them a freebie way out of it. Give them every reason to say yes to you. And so, even your likes, like, I was a little more candid with the football player than I'll be with the podcast, but be very careful with what you like. That stuff is trackable. You know, don't post a bunch of things on your timeline or whatever social media channel you're on, but your likes be completely opposite. Businesses see through that kind of stuff. Don't be a pretender, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, but yeah, as you approach and then there's no you get no magical heads up. Hey, at 9 p.m. At 9 p.m., we're checking all your social media, so go clean it up. That doesn't happen. Always be ready.
Yeah.
because you never know. I mean, you might, if you have a softball game tonight, you make some amazing play. You better be ready.
Yeah.
Your social media better be ready. And, and it's from the start of time. Like I had a football player this fall. He made an amazing play. His social media wasn't ready. There was a business that contacted me right afterwards, and they said, Keith, what do we do? And I said, you need to research into this kid. They found a post that he did in 8th grade.
Wow.
8th grade. He's a junior in college right now. They looked all the way back to 8th grade. And they found something that was quite damaging. Mm-hmm. So they questioned, what was the decision making in making that initial post? But there was a further decision to not clean it up, to let that exist out there for 7 years. And so those are all factors in that business decision making.
From your compliance background, how much do you think that has helped you in this role with Influxer?
In my compliance background, I always wanted to be an advocate for the student athletes, make sure student athletes were treated fairly. I always wanted to make sure that the institution was treated fairly when it came to, the conferences or the NCAA. It's a weird, because I'm also, a recovering lawyer too. So, in compliance, you always have to ask yourself a question like, who's my client here? Is my client the student athlete? Is it the coach? Is it the president? Is it the university? It is the university. That's always first. But hopefully, in most opportune situations, you're representing everybody, and everybody's happy. So I think carrying that attitude, that mentality into Influxer, like how can we serve student athletes while also serving the university here so everybody wins, and having that, how do we find that winnable solution for everybody involved? I think that's probably the most important thing that I carried forward.
I imagine part of your job now, like any other job, is to constantly plan for what's coming next and what do you see the next step being, and so you're not behind.
Right.
What do you see the next step being in NIL and how that would affect individuals, student athletes, universities, so on and so forth?
Yeah. Oh boy, the crystal ball of what's happening.
Because you can't predict tomorrow.
I try to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we are. I think a lot of people we're put in that position where we have to. We might not be doing it accurately, and there's a lot of different chefs in the kitchen when it comes to NIL nationally. And one of the things I even say internationally, because one of my focuses is working with international students on international NIL. And there's not a lot of folks willing to do that, but I've got pretty significant experience with immigration laws and international student athletes. So that's one thing I really hope to help here at EKU with. I think making educated guesses, understanding kind of what the legal climate is for the last 30, 40 years, understanding the history of the NCAA. Why was the NCAA created? A lot of folks don't know, but the NCAA was actually created because the President of the United States pushed on university presidents to create it. And which is funny because, when you go to social media now, people are like, well, politics need to stay out of this. Well, the NCAA and college athletics actually was created out of politics, so it was born out of this. It's typically been uninvolved for the most part, but it is interesting to, context means everything, and really kind of understanding the history to understand what the future is pretty important. Understanding, all the legal cases, and it's a lot of fun. You don't need a law degree to understand the sports section, but you're probably getting a pseudo-sport law degree now by reading the sports section.
Yeah. Well, Keith, it's been great talking with you. I want to get you out of here on this. For student athletes that are watching and they like what they heard, how can they get involved, and what's their next step that they need to take to be an athlete here for you? We would love for every EKU student athlete to sign up, take part in the experience, give it a shot. It costs you nothing. If you don't like the experience, you can just simply email us and opt out. There's no penalties. There's no fees for anything like that. You can benefit from this experience.
You get to see a lot of different things participating in this. You get to exercise your mind a little bit and, challenge yourself, too. Start thinking like a business person for once you do graduate. College athletics is not going to last forever. I know some people wish it did, but
some people stretch that a little bit.
It is getting tested right now, certainly. But you do need to think about how you are developing your skills, and what you do in the classroom is great. This is an extension of the classroom. This is a live, living lesson that you can take part of, and it's free. Not only is it free, you make money, which we're paying you to learn. Let's go. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
It's been great to talk with you. And I think just from a student athlete perspective, I know you probably got a lot of information from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually a marketing student, so like a lot of this stuff like I've learned about. So like applying it in the real world is definitely going to be a bit of a test, but I'm excited for sure. Yeah, I learned a lot. Thank you.
Well, flex your muscles. Let's see what you got.
All right. Well, Keith, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right. Keith Miller has been our guest today. He is the Vice President of Influxer. And that will wrap up our show here today. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're listening or watching. Appreciate you taking the time out to catch up with the Colonels. Until next time, you've been kicking it with the Colonels.